Okay, and Deputy Connolly.
Certainly I would like to support what's been said. It's something that we have raised sort of additional as it came up repeatedly, and we saw spin-off companies, and we tried in our ignorance, and we learned to ask questions in relation to the commercialisation of intellectual property, and my colleague here has said he has nothing against that. Personally, at this point, I would like an absolute explanation for the ordinary person out there as to what we're talking about before I express an opinion, whether it's good or bad or indifferent. The commercialisation of intellectual property. What is that? What is there back for the public institution that's funded on public funds from that process? So, what is the process? Who's pushing that process? What is the return from that process? Now, we're still in an era where asking questions about institutions is frowned upon, and lately we had the Kerry Babies Tribunal, and what was most significant, and it is relevant to this, it was never discussed in the Dáil. Can you imagine that report was never discussed in the Dáil in the 80s? Now we're in the 21st century and we've moved to a point where actually we're discussing things. But in this area, this is, don't talk about it. Yeah, taboo, because we know best. You're anti-business, you're anti-commercialisation of property, and no questions allowed. So nothing has changed, in fact, from the Kerry Babies Tribunal, just the subject. And the subject here is the commercialisation of intellectual property, spin-off countries that we shouldn't ask questions about. And we had the 7 magnificent men from the 7 institutions coming in before us, all with varying opinions, but the same theme: we know best. And absolute no openness and accountability in relation to what percentage the university was getting back and so on. So first of all, Chair, I want to thank you for sticking with this. We might have slightly different opinions on it, but certainly the issue for the public accounts is value for money. And we cannot say, certainly my experience, we're not getting value for money on what I've seen come before us. But I can't stand over that without coming back and looking at it. So it's public property, public universities funded on public funds. The President of Galway retired lately, and his parting shot was twofold. One was in relation to gender, but the second one was he thought that the fees should be doubled. Yeah. That was his parting shot. The fees should be doubled. And yet he was one of 7 that were reluctant to answer questions in relation to what money was being made. So this is a source of return for the university, so that more people can participate in third-level education, so that we don't need to charge fees, and so on. So it really is hugely significant, but the first is to break the taboo. What are we talking about? What is the process? And what is here for us, as for the ordinary people, for people on the ground, the citizens and residents of the country?
Thank you.